It's noon in Kyiv, and we're talking about the main events at this hour. You're watching Our Time with Valeria Klemenko in the studio. Hello. Kherson is under fire again. This morning, Russian forces opened fire on the Dnipro district. A local resident died from injuries incompatible with life, according to the Kherson Regional Administration. Over the past day, Russian forces shelled Kherson and about 30 other settlements. They targeted critical and residential infrastructure. 10 people were injured, including one child. Last night, Russia attacked the Odesa region again with drones. Energy facilities were targeted, according to local authorities. There were direct hits as a result of the attack. Warehouse facilities and administrative buildings were damaged. Rescuers quickly extinguished the fires that broke out. There were no casualties or injuries. 6 people were injured as a result of another Russian attack on Dnipro. Last night, Russians struck the city with drones. Currently, 3 of the injured are in the hospital in moderate condition. A residential apartment building was damaged by the shelling. The windows were blown out and the gas is currently shut off. In the morning, they continued to assess the extent of the damage. Here's what Dnipro residents have to say about this Russian attack on their city.
We went up to the apartment. Not a single one of the 6 windows survived. Half of the window frames are outside on the street, and half are still in the apartment.
It happened so suddenly. You know, one moment everything was fine, and then it was all over. Dust everywhere, people screaming. There's nothing special here. Just regular people living here. And they got hit for no reason at all.
On Thursday night into Friday, Russian forces shelled 2 communities in the Sumy region. In both cases, the strikes hit residential areas. Fires broke out, and buildings at the impact sites were burning. Moreover, because of the threat of repeated Russian shelling, rescuers had to periodically suspend their work. The day before, several residents in the region were injured in Russian attacks. In the Novoslobodska community, a woman was injured by a drone strike, and in the middle of Butska, a drone attacked a civilian car, its driver died, and 2 passengers were wounded. Russian forces struck a passenger car in Huliapol, Zaporizhzhia region, with an FPV drone. Local authorities reported this earlier this morning. The man injured in the attack received the necessary medical assistance. His life is not in danger. Overnight, the Russians shelled the Zaporizhzhia region, including the regional center. They targeted critical infrastructure. Nevertheless, residential buildings in one of Zaporizhzhia's districts were damaged. 4 apartment buildings were damaged. Russia launched nearly 130 drones at Ukraine overnight into Friday. About 80 of them were Shahids, according to the Ukrainian Air Force. Ukrainian air defenders neutralized 94 UAVs of various types in the north, south, and east of the country. Strikes were recorded at 11 locations. The Ukrainian Special Operations Forces confirmed a strike on logistics facilities and oil depots belonging to Russia in temporarily occupied Crimea. Thus, on the night of November 6th, Ukrainian drones struck the Vardiisk oil depot, destroying a full fuel tank. 2 trains with tank cars were also hit. At the moment of impact, the rolling stock was loaded with petroleum products. In addition, SOF drones struck several oil depots and warehouses with fuel and lubricants. In Simferopol and the surrounding areas, facilities of the tank farm were destroyed. Fires broke out at the sites of the strikes. Ukraine and the United States are negotiating the purchase of long-range Tomahawk missiles, as well as other long-range weapons. This was stated by Ukraine's ambassador to the United States, Odesa. She described the dialogue between the countries as positive. In addition, Stefanishina emphasized that Ukraine is currently going through a difficult period. And against the backdrop of Russian attacks on the energy sector, there is an acute need to strengthen air defense.
This is definitely a very difficult period for Ukraine. We are working hard to provide Ukraine with more air defense capabilities. We can get through this winter and another one, but that doesn't mean we're doing the right thing. Any refusal to put pressure on Russia will be perceived as something that gives them the green light to build up their capabilities. Stefanishina, ambassador of Ukraine to the USA. In an interview with Bloomberg,
Partner contributions under the Pearl program have reached nearly $3 billion. which has made it possible to form 5 packages of American weapons. This was reported by Igor Zatva, deputy head of the Office of the President of Ukraine. He met with representatives of the NATO International Secretariat, Ariela V., and thanked the alliance for coordinating the delivery of lethal American weapons to Ukraine. In addition, Zatva emphasized the importance of investing in domestic defense production. European Union countries must prepare for the long-term isolation of Russia, even after the war in Ukraine ends. This was stated by Swedish Prime Minister Ulf Kristersson. He added that Sweden is not naive about Russia and emphasized the need to strengthen deterrence and restrict the actions of the Russian submarine fleet in the Baltic Sea.
We have never had more control over the Baltic Sea, and of course, this irritates Russia. This is our sea. I am firmly convinced that Sweden, Estonia, and other European Union countries must prepare for the long-term isolation of Russia. It will not end with this war. Ulf Kristersson, Prime Minister of Sweden, in an interview with Estonian National Broadcasting.
Russia could attack a NATO country at any time, said General Alexander Salfrank, head of the German Joint Operations Command. According to him, even now a small regional attack is possible. Whether Moscow decides to attack the alliance will be determined by 3 factors: Russia's military power, its combat experience, and its leadership, Salfrank emphasized.
If you look at Russia's current capabilities and military strength, the Russian Federation could launch a small attack on NATO territory as soon as tomorrow. Small, fast, regionally limited, nothing major. Russia is too tied up with Ukraine for that, but whether an attack happens or not largely depends on our own actions. Alexander Salfrank, head of the German Joint Operational Command, in an interview with Reuters.
Kazakhstan has joined the Abraham Accords. This was announced by President Donald Trump during a meeting with the leaders of Central Asian countries. According to him, the signing ceremony will take place soon. The head of the White House emphasized that there is still a lot of work ahead to unite countries for stability and growth. Some of the countries we're talking about, and some of the countries represented here, will join the Abraham Accords. These announcements will be made soon. Right now, the Abraham Accords are in high demand. I'm also pleased to announce that Kazakhstan has officially agreed to join them. Let me remind you, the Abraham Accords are a series of agreements to normalize relations between Israel and Kazakhstan and Arab countries. They were signed in 2020 to 2021 with the mediation of the United States. The agreement provides for the establishment of diplomatic, economic, and cultural ties between states that previously had no official relations. The first country to sign the document was the United Arab Emirates. North Korea launched a ballistic missile toward the sea off its western coast. Japan and South Korea have confirmed the launch. They confirmed the fact of the launch. It happened last night. Japanese Prime Minister Sanae Tokichi stated that there is no confirmed information about any damage. Seoul and Tokyo are monitoring the situation. This move could have further diplomatic and military consequences, according to the Japanese government. North Korea launched a single ballistic missile from its western coast toward the east end. Japan, the US, and South Korea are currently working closely together, analyzing the circumstances of the incident. According to estimates, the missile flew more than 450 kilometers at a maximum altitude of 50 kilometers and fell into the eastern waters off the Korean peninsula, outside Japan's exclusive economic zone.
Subscribe to UATV English and stay updated on the most important events, top news from Ukraine and all over the world, in-depth analysis, exclusive reports and interviews, all on hand in our channel. Join our community of viewers and stay tuned.